Donaldson here. It is 8 o'clock Central. It is Wednesday night, so that means it must be time for office hours. I am super excited to welcome you guys into the new version of my office. And this show, if it's your first time or if you're coming on back, this show is all about real estate. It's for real estate pros by real estate pros. And if you're not familiar with myself, I am the CEO, the director of 2 real estate training and education companies, and this show is 100% free. I love real estate so much that literally I want to hang out here in my office in prime time and give you a way to learn, to grow your real estate business, and to let you know the real business of real estate. We do it live for one purpose, and that's so that you can ask your questions during the course of the broadcast. So if you have a question, please, at any point, starting now, feel free to put it in the comments, and myself and our esteemed guests will try to get to as many of those as we can. But hang on, because we may answer your question before you even have a chance to answer it. So tonight's show is one that I am super excited to bring to you because it is all about Zillow. We're calling it the Zillow Files. And when we talk about the term Zillow, it brings a lot of emotions with my friends, with my colleagues, you realtors out there. And so I thought, rather than just deal in rumors, let's deal in facts. And I can't think of a better person to introduce to you guys than my friend, Chad Fincher. Chad, why don't you say hello and introduce yourself briefly to the office hours audience? And again, thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to talking with you, my friend.
Thank you, Chris. And hey, everyone, it's so great to be here on the show. I'm super excited. Chris gave us this opportunity to hang out with you guys for an hour and answer your questions and talk to you about Zillow. It's just been pretty exciting to get a chance to reach so many people through this medium. Give you a little background on myself. I've been with Zillow a little over 2.5 years. Title is Director of MLS and Industry Relations. That's just a fancy title for being sort of the liaison or the connection between our corporation and MLSs all across the country. I cover about 19 states and work with the different MLSs in those regions. And of course, being from the Southeast is where I cover most of my territory. Prior to joining with Zillow, I was an MLS executive for 3 years. Ran the Mobile Area Association of Realtors and the Gulf Coast MLS for 3 years. And then prior to that, I was a broker for 10 years, had my own brokerage that operated here in my hometown of Mobile, Alabama. So I have from the experience of working with Zillow, I have felt the frustrations on the broker side. I have felt the frustrations on the MLS side, but then also too, now I've been able to really reach out there and talk to a lot of agents and talk to a lot of realtors and MLSs and truly share with them the value and the benefits that we can bring to them through Zillow.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, just full disclosure to the audience, there is not a whole lot of pre-discussion on purpose that me and Chad have had. So I've got questions for him myself. But unless, Chad, you've done some hardcore research through my social media, one of the things that you may or may not know about me is that I like to tell realtors and agents exactly the realities and not sugarcoat it. Tell them the way it is. It may be something that they like. It may be something that they don't like. And just kind of as a jumping off point, I'm going to start with something that I think is incredibly important. And that is your boss, Mr. Spencer Raskoff, the CEO of Zillow Group, who seems to be a heck of an executive, super neat to follow around. But I do want to share something with you, and feel free to share this with him, that I was the first Office Hours real estate podcast. And we were born on April 6th of 2016. And then the CEO, your boss, who it's a wonderful show, his first episode of Office Hours was on June 16th. So I take full credit and I take full responsibility for putting out the name Office Hours. So I will forgive him if he'd like to be a guest in the future. You mind passing that along for me?
Chris, I will absolutely pass that along to him and to share that with him that actually met the originator of Office Hours.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
I will.
Look, let me tell you, that holds a lot of weight. I just want you to know your T-shirt's in the mail. Okay.
and he'll probably own it too. That's it. But I will definitely pass that on to him.
No,
And maybe I can make that. Maybe I can make office hours have a in office hours. That'd be pretty cool.
I think it would be beautiful. I don't see anything wrong with it. In fact, I think I've tweeted that to him before, just messing around. But I'm going to be sure to do it again. Not that he has anything else to do.
Yes, for sure.
Well, so listen, guys. Again, this is your chance to really pick the brain and to ask some questions of Chad. He knows what's really going on. And I want you guys to be aware, I'm not here to defend Zillow. I'm not here to raise the pom-poms, but I'm also not here to demonize them. What I'm here to let you guys know is we've got to deal with the realities of the real estate market as it is. And one of the things, Chad, as a sort of a jumping off point for us, is that I like to look at statistics. And I've got statistics on the web. And I have been teaching this for years, that at the end of the day, the consumer's attention and where they are searching and what they are comfortable with, if they are interacting with Zillow, with your app, with your website, with the various properties like Trulia and apartments for rent and all these things, I think it's important as a real estate professional, rather than just saying, no, Zillow's evil, like you'll hear some people say, why don't we look at the realities of how Zillow operates, how they make their money, who they serve, and et cetera, et cetera. So I want you guys to realize, let's peel back some of that stuff and let's talk about the reality of Zillow. It's really Zillow Group. So Chad, first and foremost, let's just talk about the web traffic and talk about the consumer and all the things that are going on with Zillow, right? I mean, increasingly moving mobile. Your app probably has a ton of action. Kind of where Zillow's head now, and what are you guys seeing as the trends for the consumers? And just kind of share with me, help me learn what you guys are seeing when people are searching for real estate and interacting with your various properties.
For sure, Chris, and you're exactly right. So Zillow is built around a platform of catering to the consumer. I mean, our goal is to build a product and to build a platform that attracts the consumer to our sites, with the eventual goal of seeing the agents listings, to get that exposure, to get that to be seen by the hundreds of millions of users that interact with us. And you're exactly right. Our platform is moving more and more mobile. Everyone walks around with their cell phone. Everyone has it in their hand all the time. And so it's truly the catering, the point that we want to be able to access that consumers through their mobile device. We hit 180 million unique viewers a month. We've been back and forth across from that number, but that's significant. And of that, I think it's like over 70% of that 180 million traffic is through mobile use in some form or fashion. So that just shows you the capability and the broad reach that we have with the consumer. But what I wanted.
How much? What percentage? What did you say? 70%?
I think 70% is the uses through mobile use. So it's amazing how much traffic comes through the mobile sites. But what I want the agents to know and to realize is the reason that we cater to the consumers, the reason we build our products around the consumer, is to see their listings. We want them to have the most exposure. We want them to be able to be seen. We want their information. We want the information to be accurate. We want the information to be current, and we want as much information that we possibly can accumulate, because we have found that's what the consumers want. That's what's driven the consumers to Zillow. They're able not only to see the listing, they're able to go and look at the tax records. They're able to see the last time the property sold, if that information is available. They're getting all this information that they really have always craved and always wanted, right there in their hands. And again, it is not taking away the value of the agent. The agent is bring so much value to that process because of the importance they serve in the many decisions that have to be made when that buyer makes that purchase. We have just been able to kind of pull that together and pull this in a platform that has really been beneficial to the buyers out there.
Yeah, I mean, look, no question. At the end of the day, you've created a space. And y'all look, the way I teach it is really pretty simple, guys. And those of you that have been watching the show or taken some programs from me, you kind of know where I come from on this. When the iPhone was invented and the app became the big thing, Zillow was by far the leader in creating an easy to use, beautiful, searchable product because you wanted to look at real estate and the consumer wanted to have access. And rather than trying to put up walls and prevent them from having it, Zillow was a champion for the consumer to have it. And guess what? Over time, that has created trust. It's created solidifying the brand. It's created all these various things where it's just where the attention is. I mean, those tens of millions of views every month, that's substantial. So you want to know why the consumer goes there. What is it that they're looking for? They want that information, right? They want the ease. They want the access. So let's go ahead and let's just go and ask some of those questions because you sort of mentioned it. What do you have to say? And I got this question more times than not to those that are scared that Zillow wants to become a broker. Why don't we just address that one right now? Because
let's get that one out of the way. That's a big
all
one.
the time, right?
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
And what's the truth?
Well, and the truth is that because our partnership and our reliance is built around working with agents, and the partnership of if we become a broker, we break that partnership. We're not only now we're not working together with realtors, we're competing against realtors.
Right.
Zillow, when they first launched, we're a little over 10 years old now. There was, I don't know what there was speculations or there was thoughts at the beginning of the business, the plan of the business to start a brokerage and, started working down that, maybe.
Sure.
To say, no, we're more interested in partnering with realtors, building this brand to be able to have agents see on our space, purchase ad space on our space, build this philosophy of being partners instead of competitors. And that's where we started working with MLSs and brokers directly. Our first venture, Chris, was when we started working directly with brokers for the brokers to send us different listings through their brokerages, through broker feeds. Right. Then we started moving away from that more toward MLS partnerships. And that's what we focused on today. We have spent, oh my gosh, now 6 or 7 years of, tough, difficult years of going really to MLS by MLS and having to sell our product and our services to them to get there, to build that trust and understanding of really what we're trying to do. We could have easily just went the other way. In the beginning, you said, well, why would you go through all that pain and heartache to build all these partnerships? Because we truly think that's going to be the benefit for us and the agents in the future. Being the competitor is not going to be a win for us or a win for them, but being partners together is where we see the most of our value. So that's why there's no interest and no desire of us to be a brokerage, because we have built so much around this shared partnership with the agents all across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I asked you about the mobile number to say it again, because listen, I'm a numbers person. And at the end of the day, when you look up the financials, which are publicly available for Zillow Group, 70% is also the number approximately of the revenue that comes from selling products and great exposure and leads and all these various things to you, the real estate agent. So Zillow as a business would be cutting out 70% of their bottom line based on just what's publicly available in order to replace you. It doesn't make business sense. And I think it's important. Now, look, I don't think me, Chad, or even the decision makers may know 5 years from now. But right now, if you're worried about that, you're wasting energy. You're wasting time. It's not what's happening. Let's look at the realities of the what Zillow and Trulia and all those various properties are actually doing. So let's ask about the other one. The immediate response, and I'm seeing it, and it's been asked of me before, is, yeah, but what about this instant offers thing? You are trying to replace me. So I've talked about it before because from an educational standpoint, but Chad, why don't you explain instant offers to our audience and what the ultimate sort of product is really attempting to do there? Because that brings a lot of misinformation. And that
it does.
A lot of people out.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. It's misinformation, and that's sort of, to me, in my experience, that's been the biggest misconception that we've had with Zillow. With Zillow, we will own up to it. Sometimes we do not do the best job in the form of communicating with our MLSs and with our real estate community. We sort of have a great idea. We have a great product. We think big and move fast. That's one of our slogans. And so we had this new product, this new concept that truly had no intentions to ever remove the agent from the transaction And it actually had the exact opposite effect. Our number one goal is actually infuse the agent back into a transaction where, and again, this is all based on your numbers guys. So and we are too when it comes to data. We're all about numbers. We are seeing the traffic and the growth of products like Open Door that are going out, that are building, especially on the West Coast. We're not feeling them here in the Southeast and East Coast as much, but they're moving quickly. Redfin's another model that's a little different. This is a disruptor model that's definitely could cause some concerns. But Open Door specifically, that's building these models in these these cities that are going in and buying up multiple properties, and their intention is they buy them up, turn around and sell them without any agent involvement whatsoever. And that truly takes in a city that has a lot of those type of properties, it can remove a lot of agents out of the marketplace. Well,
Yes.
as we just mentioned, we depend on agents. We depend on agents using our product. So we needed to make sure we wouldn't lose in some of these larger markets, that segment. So Instant Offer is a program built around making sure the agents stay involved. Yes, Zillow is is interact with the seller. Zillow might purchase the property, but in every phase of the transaction, it's built in where there's an agent representing the seller, or in the day, we're using a local agent or broker to turn around and sell that property, which is totally opposite to a model like Open Door and some other companies out there. So that is where the biggest misconception is. When you say Zillow is out there to take the agent out of the transaction through Instant Offer, that is just not true. It's actually to infuse the agent back into a transaction, similar to the quick sale product.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, we're about a year in where this has been really serious discussion, and I've tried to explain to folks that iBuyer model and where these different things fit in, what the difference is. Those are the companies that are trying to replace you. And they're just trying to remove you from the transaction. They want to be the toll booth. They want to be the person that's getting the transaction accomplished. In other words, they're the ones that want to replace the realtor with the robot. But what I want you guys to know is that's not going to happen as long as y'all, the realtors, us as the professionals, continue to serve our clients and make transactions easier. If we continue to remove friction, we are going to be relevant. If you're adding friction, the consumer's looking for speed. So if you notice, it's in the slogan with Zillow Group. They talk about go big and go fast. Fast is crucial, guys. Y'all know that. Y'all make decisions fast every day on your phones, whether you're going to watch something, whether you're going to click on something, whether you're going to commit to like something on Facebook like this stream. But yet we are confused by the idea that the consumer wants to be able to buy and sell real estate faster. So I think that's something that's worth watching. Now, something I do want to ask you, and it's a common question, is, okay, so we've seen the evolution. I know that here in my market, look, I see it from all sides. I'm sort of in the middle. I'm a real estate broker. I'm an educator. I'm a member of the boards. We've had some that have made the decision to feed their listings to Zillow as MLS partners sooner than others. And the main question that seems to come up is, well, since Zillow makes money off of real estate agents, I'm not getting any benefit by having my listings on Zillow without paying. What do you have to say to those folks?
Yeah, that's another common misconception, Chris, that we get out there with talking with agents, is they feel like we're sort of taking their lead from them and selling it back to them if they don't
That's
pay for
exactly
that.
the way that it's said to me all the time,
Yeah.
and I can see why they feel that way. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, and the truth is that it's not true. I mean, from our perspective, we're actually the only company that we feel like in the forms of the type of company providing advertising service or marketing service or lead generation services in the real estate industry to the agents that actually see the most coverage, because again, we're the largest real estate website in the country. Usually in most markets, our traffic is 2 to 1 to any other website, and your listings being seen by more people at no cost. And that's just the first part. The second part is that we always make sure, no matter if you pay us a single dime, you're always going to be on your listing, clearly listed, displayed as the listing agent. Your photo is going to be there. You have a photo in our profile system. Your name is going to be there. And here's the biggest part. Your phone number is going to be displayed under your name, which says the buyer doesn't have to make a click. He doesn't have to do anything. He can simply dial up your number and reach you directly if he chooses to talk to you. Now, again, that's going to happen automatically through our services when we're taking your listings in through the MLS. which that's where most of our listings come from, is through your MLS provider. So there's no fee involved in that. And actually there's many services that agents can take advantage of that are no cost through our Zillow app, for our Premier Agent Zillow app. It's called Premier Agent, and that's usually what the paid agents are titled, are Premier Agents. Those are the agents that also show up under your name and under your information as a Premier Agent. But we have an app called the PA app, Premier Agent app, that has tons of services, tons of benefits that as any agent that can take advantage of, keeping up with your contacts, contact streams, contact lists, all those types of capabilities are built in through the app. It's a great feature to use at no cost. So when you say that when agents say that we're taking their information and trying to sell the leads back to them, all we're doing at the end of the day is what the consumers love. They have the information available to them, and we're giving them a choice. Of course, the listing agent has every opportunity to get that contact as the Premier Agents below them. It's just up to the buyer who they choose to contact.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Guys, look, if you're watching and you've had an experience to the contrary, I'm sure Chad would want to know about it, number one, because it would probably be a glitch. But number two, so you're saying that I can start to take advantage, get in the ecosystem, and do certain things on the Zillow platform as a Premier Agent by spending zero money?
Correct. $0. It's the app that we have set up for any agent that wants to take advantage of it is called the Premier Agent app. Just go to the App Store, download it, or the Google Store, download it. Android, just take advantage of it. It's there. Tons of resources, tons of different features that you can use at no cost. Now, again, we're a business, Chris, just like your business or any other business. We have to make money. We have to make revenue to keep the sites up and running, provide the consumer experience we provide. So at the end of the day, there will be other agents seen on your listing. They're displayed underneath you. They're not displayed above you. They're not giving any special, treatment of their photo, their name, their phone number is also there. But we feel it's very fair for the exposure that every agent's receiving as a listing agent at no cost, that we give you that as much exposure as we do for being with your name, phone number, and contact information right there on the main screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a legitimate concern, right? Because when we're dealing with brokerages, as having been one and having been in the market yourself, that is the power, that is the importance. When I obtain that listing, look, that is my marketing rights that has been signed over to me by the consumer. That's what they've hired me to do. So it's only natural for me to want to control the flow of where that goes, how it's presented, and so on and so forth. But guys, if you're watching, I'd like to know in the comments how often or when the last time you were asked by a seller, specifically at the listing presentation, if your property was going to appear on Zillow. Or bonus, did they ask you about their Zestimate or mention it? And I think that what I want you guys to understand is, rather than getting annoyed, and I've said this, Chad, a lot, rather than banging your head against the wall and going, oh, the Zillow question again, understand that it's going to be a part of the transaction. Now, I don't have the exact quote here, but I have seen where the CEO of Zillow himself gave advice to his own son in a letter. I have seen this, so I'm going to butcher the quote, but something to the effect of his son wanted to get it into the real estate industry as a real estate agent. And Mr. Raskoff, the CEO of Zillow, gave him advice that said that the Zestimate is a gateway to display your expertise to the consumer. So let's talk about that a little bit, because one of the aggravations you hear all the time is the Zestimate's way off, or the seller always wants to quote their Zestimate. They're always saying this stuff, and my pricing knowledge is better. The Zestimate's ridiculous. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that's also something that's of concern, the accuracy of it, and what's the sort of advantage to the agent, and then what's being done to make that more accurate going forward. I mean, we're talking about a lot of things here, including data, right?
Yeah, we are. I'm surprised this estimate was your first question. That's usually the first. It's actually usually the first question that comes up.
I wanted to warm you up so you stay. You know?
There you go, for sure. So this estimate, is, Chris, as you can imagine, it is a very important part of our consumer experience. This estimate has been really part of the lifeblood of Zillow, and is really made it the site that it is today. And it has been, and there's absolutely, I know for a fact, realtors have been frustrated with estimates. I mean, I talk to the agents, I, you know, understand being a former agent myself and broker, how that can be very frustrating. But I will say over time, over the past 2 or 3 years, the Zestimate values are considerably changing. I mean, we are working now with so much information and so much data. And then really that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, when an agent gets mad and upset about this estimate, it's really the data. The Zestimate is only as good as the data coming in. If the data is incorrect, the data is wrong. If the Zestimate is only being based off tax records, then we all know that the Zestimate value is going to be lower and accurate. So there is a struggle there, but we are making, so the wealth of information is coming in. We have, again, this coverage of information in pretty all across the United States in markets. We're getting majority of our information now through MLSs, which is, again, we know the data quality is accurate and current and correct. And that's a huge part of the Zestimate factor. We're getting all the sold data through public records now. It's coming through public records as well as agent input. People would be shocked at the amount of agent input from sold records that we get through Zillow. So all those things build into the ability to have really good, more accurate estimates. And I will say, at the end of the day, if we take the whole frustration of the inaccurate estimates off the table, I think it takes away their frustrations from the agents dealing with their consumers. So if the estimate's 6 to 7% off, that's really where we want it. It needs to be. It needs to be in a range where it's realistic. That way, you don't have to go fight with that seller or go fight with that buyer over this estimate. It's out there, it's there, and then you just move in and move on. So now I do understand there will always be cases where estimates will be off, and we do struggle with especially resort markets, like waterfront property, high-end property. Those areas are rural properties, another area that we sometimes struggle with estimates. Sure. But I always like to give 2 little tidbits of information to agents that I can share about how to affect this estimate value. One, make sure if you have a listing, make sure your seller has gone on to Zillow, claimed that property as their residence, and went in and filled in additional information. Not only what we take the information, of course, from the MLS, but then when the seller goes onto the site, Chris, they're able to go in and talk about when was the roof replaced or what upgrades have been made inside the home. Talk about some additional details that sometimes we don't receive from the MLS. That can have an effect on the estimate value. And then second, there's always a feature that agents can go. Let's say the estimate is $50,000 off because it is in a resort community sitting on a lake, and that's sometimes from an algorithm perspective, we can't really figure that in because we don't really look at it sitting on the lake. So the agent can actually go onto their Zillow profile, go into this estimate section. Go to that listing, pull it up, go to this estimate section, and there's an agent comment button. They can click that agent comment button and actually add comments about this estimate into the listing, into the listing display on Zillow, and clearly state this estimate is inaccurate because this is a waterfront home that has 250 feet of waterfront on the property. So it gives them an ability to kind of give more information that we don't want this estimate to discourage the buyer, discourage someone from looking at the home. And it gives them that ability, if they need to add that additional information, that we'll post on the site when the consumers are looking at it. So those are just 2 little ways that you can always help. But I will say, even over the last 6 or 7 months, going into markets where estimates used to be really off are becoming more and more accurate every day. And I think that's just because the more information is coming in and the wealth of data that we're collecting on the property. So I hope that maybe helps and provides a little relief on the estimate struggle that realtors have on a day in and day out basis.
Yeah, guys, if that helps kind of clear it up, even if it's not everything you ever wanted to hear, let Chad know. Let us know in the comments. Again, when I asked, you saw Stacy said they always ask. Brian said they always ask. Beth wanted to talk about they're always off. I'm actually going to give you a perspective because I'm an eternal optimist and I'm always looking at opportunity in everything. Your programmers, your data managers, your algorithm experts may not like this, but I love it when it's off because it gives me an opportunity to display my expertise to the seller. And it gives me an opportunity to explain to them that value is a relative concept. It's a starting off point, and it allows me to show them, here's other information to consider. Here's what's out there competitively already and still listed on the market. Here's some stuff that expired unsold. Let's consider that. Guys, that is literally the biggest opportunity for you to show the seller that you mean business. So rather than being annoyed about it, be prepared. Look at the estimate of a house you're going to list before you sit with the seller. You know they're going to ask about it. Be prepared for it. Sometimes you might have good news for them. It doesn't always mean it's bad. I love it when it's off because it makes me look smart, right? And I can prove it to the seller. So use it as an opportunity, because at the end of the day, again, everybody, a house is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. Sellers are always going to be curious what their house is worth. It's been a trick for y'all to get seller leads forever. We still teach that. The number one thing a seller wants to know when they're considering selling their house is, what's it worth? So they can ask you and you can do a price analysis. So it's only natural that a technology company would build a tool to give the seller a place to go look at that and play with that and watch that. They're giving the consumer what they want. And we started at the beginning. Their number one goal here is to serve the consumer, which in turn gives us an opportunity to be served. So that's just the realities of it. That was great. I mean, look, the fact that I started with instant offers and that was easier for you, estimate. Now I kind of know the level of anxiety that these various things can bring.
And Chris, I do have to say, I always had to give one disclosure when talking about Zestimates. They're not going away.
Yeah. No, in fact, I'm sure that you're aware. Look, we had your competitor, Realtor.com, on the show a couple of weeks ago, and they're unveiling their version of a similar tool. There are other sites that have had this stuff out there. Guys, if you think that we're going to take the genie and put it back in the bottle and that consumers are going to be less interested on their phones, less information is going to be available, that the consumer is going to care less about being able to click on buttons, see what their house is worth, and information, you're crazy. You're not paying attention to the reality. You're not reacting in the marketplace like you react as a consumer. Like, how annoyed do you get as an agent if you look at, as a buyer's agent, when you look at somebody else's information, it's incomplete, right? Like, we're not treating it the way that it should be, which is understand that this is here to stay. Understand that it's still an important point for us. If we think that appraisers, this is another example, Chad, that I give, not to be too wordy here, but appraisers, look, there's always going to be that personal element, that expertise, that subjectivity that's going to be needed. You know, valuation is really an art, and algorithms can come really far, but there's still going to be that gap that a human being that knows the market, you, the expert, the appraiser, has got to step in and be able to analyze that data a little bit. And I think there's still tremendous opportunity there.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I just also wanted to say too, you've said it so well. It's like, take advantage of that. I mean, we want you as an agent to take advantage of it. I mean, truly, it's built around the consumer experience, but it is everything really there. And that's just one portal of how we're really trying to take that for you to use as a way to sell yourself to the consumer. Don't miss that opportunity. Don't get so frustrated with that Zestimate that you missed that opportunity. And I don't want to try to change subjects. I'm not trying to go away from Zestimates, but I know FSBO is going to come up. Surely that has to be one of your questions of why Zillow allows for sub owners on their site. So this is just another
free citizen of the United States of America to be able to expose their house on the free marketplace in a capitalist system. I can't imagine why we would allow that.
Well, that's always a point of contention. Sometimes when I speak in agents is that, why do we allow for sub owners, on the site? And again, it goes back to the consumer experience. And it goes back to them having their cell phone, driving down Main Street, and Mr. Buyer sees that for sale owner sign he wants to see, and the Coldwell Banker sign, or the real estate agent sign on the same street. He wants to see everything there in one time and at one experience. But what we do is I want to make sure that agents understand it's not to try to drive for sub owners to the site. It's not to try to remove the agent again from that process. And most of our sub owners, and actually we have getting into just some details, we have a vetting process. So all the for sub owners that come onto the site, only actually a third ever make it to the site because they're contacted by one of our team members. We vet through the process. We make sure it's a legitimate listing before it's advertised, it's put on the site. It only stays on the site for 60 days. And the seller that touches it falls off automatically. So there's all these safeguards built in. But what we do is build around an experience where we do not promote the seller on the site. We put the agents before the seller. That the agents are first, sellers are below. So it's another tool that we're giving agents exposure, and the sellers that I've talked with that use the product become very frustrated with it because they actually get more prospecting calls than they do calls from buyers. So it's another great tool and another great way for you to use as a resource to build leads, to get listings, and to move forward. So I just always like to share that it's always sometimes they wonder why we're trying to use the sub owners as a competition against agents, and that's not the case at all. It's another tool that we want you to use and take advantage of.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you brought that up. And so actually for me, I think that that's the lazy agent's paradise, because rather than having to really dig and figure out who the for sale by owners are to try to get them to list with you, hey, you can pull up a site like Zillow and see who's out there. And there's no hotter lead for you than somebody that's actively put their property on the market. So, look, I'm an eternal optimist. I'm looking at things in terms of what's the benefit going to be to me? Because at the end of the day, we can raise high heavens. I can say anything. I can scream and yell. Me, I don't have the power to change any of this. So my goal is to figure out what the system is and operate within it to the best of my advantage, right? And so that's what I think you guys need to be doing. But if you get into the next level, I think that let's talk a little bit. And I'm curious of those that are on the stream now, if the next thing that I hear a lot, and it's not just Zillow, but everybody, but when somebody pays for leads, the leads are bad. They're not worth the money. I'm spending X and all of this. Now I've got my take on that, but I'm curious because I know that's a difficult proposition because you're defining what a lead is, you're qualifying them along the process, all of those various things. So how do you sort of discuss that with agents? And when you hear that, kind of what's your response?
Well, I do understand where they, how the lead quality, I do get a lot of questions like, well, the lead quality is just not good enough. I tried the service, the Premier Agent service, and just the lead qualities were not there, were not good enough. So I dropped the system. And I can't speak for how the other programs work. I mean, we have made changes from Zillow, from the Zillow group on how our prospect leads are handled. We are making changes today and moving forward. Most of our leads are now coming through a central system where they're vetted first. So if you're paying for the service as a Premier Agent, it's going to a central cost system, and that lead's vetted, and we make sure that lead gets to you as a valid lead before your phone ever rings. So it's a way to help make sure that if you're going to pay for the service, and I tell agents all the time, the product's not cheap. I mean, it's expensive to advertise yourself through a medium like Zillow, but if you're going to spend the resources to advertise Zillow, we want it to be effective for you. We want you to be able to get sales and get leads off of that and generate revenue. And it's our that's our number one goal because that's how we continue building that business model. So I encourage, if you tried it in the past, there's been a lot of changes to our system and how it works, how it operates. Be happy to reach back and get in touch with your sales agent because I'm sure they've been in contact with you and find out about the new systems we have in place that helps actually vet the leads before they ever get to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, when I put my teacher hat on and just trying to help people do better, one of the things that I always ask is, okay, well, so how many leads did you generate? How many times did you contact them? How long were they in your pipeline? And I'm just going to tell you guys, don't come to me for help talking about leads being bad unless you're at least tracking them all and you can show me how you contacted them, when you contacted them, how they were in your pipeline. Because I think a lot of times, guys, you may be right, but you got to be able to prove it, because a bad lead doesn't mean they didn't list or buy the house today. And I think that that's one of the things that you guys probably run into, and we run into in lead gen in general. You got to understand that sometimes, and that's where you guys are probably refining the process, you just might get them a little earlier in the journey. And so it doesn't mean no, it means not right now. And so they're a lead to continue to nurture. But if you're doing that and you have a big data set and you've got spreadsheets and you could show that you're spending significant money, I bet the Zillow Premier Agent, sales agent, or whoever you're working with would want to know that, because they can't improve the product and keep you as a customer if it's not working for you. So I think we all have to realize it's in Zillow's interest in order to make the product work so that they can keep you as a customer. I mean, that's business 101. So if all they had was bad stuff, eventually their bottom line would get injured, right? Stockholders would be screaming. They'd be looking at the quarterlies going, what's going on? Why are agents leaving the platform? So I think you guys need to understand that's business 101. It's in their interest for those leads to be good. All right. Audie, welcome to the program. So again, a lot of folks were talking back to the Zestimate. They were talking about just their reactions, that it's easier. It's a starting off point. It's something that always comes up. You know, I think it's critical and I think it's important. So thank you guys for your comments. So Chad,
Hey, Chris.
What's that?
Because there's one more thing about the Zestimate I forgot to mention. I wanted to share with your audience that we have made some actual changes to the platform and how Zestimates are displayed. And a lot of agents have probably not noticed this, but if you look on the site, and I want to make sure I get the numbers right. If you look on the site and the Zestimate isn't accurate, let's say it's 10% off, 15% off, or let's say even more than that, 30% off. If the Zestimate is actually 15 to 30% off of what the actual list price will be, we will actually put an extra button below that says view Zestimate details. So that just sort of almost gives that trigger where the consumer can click more, and we simply say, it looks like this property is missing some facts, missing some information, and we need to get more, to get more information to make sure you get the correct value of this property. So, and then if it's over 30% off, we will actually not display this estimate under the list price. We've removed that from under the list price, and actually you just have to go down to the estimate section to see it. So those are two new things that we've initiated over the past beginning of this year to just sort of, again, it's more to show to the realtor community, we're not trying to use this estimate as a pain point. We're trying to use it as a way to generate business for you. So it's just another thing that we have learned through our growth and transition of a way that can help in that process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great point. I'm glad that you said that because it's a little bit more clear than it was before. I think it might have been like a little circle I or something like that, but it's always been there. It's always been transparent. And one trick that I've always taught, Chad, and I don't mind telling you this, is I've always said, if it's really off, when you're sitting with the consumer, click on that button, explain to them, again, show them you are aware of what this means and educate, because education is marketing, is selling. And look, it's all the same stuff. So real quick, we've been going a little over 40 minutes here. So first of all, Chad, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for being willing to discuss these various things, to educate us a little bit. For those of you that are on the stream, I want to remind you, first of all, welcome to Office Hours. This is the free 100% peer-driven real estate show for you guys. My passion is your success. I don't just want to see you pass the exam. I don't just want to see you kind of float along. I want to see you succeed and hit whatever goals it is that you want to obtain. One of the ways that I'm trying to help you guys do that is this show right here, Office Hours. The reason we do it live is for you. We also do it live so that you can ask your questions. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have the time, the energy, or feel like watching a free show that's helping you run your real estate business, then I just don't know what else to do to help you. So give Chad some love. Let him know that you appreciate his time. And now, if you've got questions that we haven't addressed, feel free to post those in the comments, and we'll take that and we'll look at it. So, Chad, look, Lane's telling you thank you. Cindy's saying hello. Brian is relatively new, and so he is being educated. He's learning here. Audie, it's good to see you. Look at all these folks that appreciate your time, man. It's not going wasted. So
I appreciate you, Chris, having me on here. And I'm just reading through the comments, and it's some really good stuff here. And yeah, if anyone has a question just about maybe an experience or one of their, sometimes that information could be wrong on the site, it could be not displaying correctly, let me know. We'll be happy to take care of it for you. And because again, that is our number one goal. And we've really worked hard over the last 12 to 16 months of really, one of the issues we used to always walk into, Chris, talking to agents, is that we love, it's not that we don't dislike your site. We just dislike your data. Your data is not accurate. Your data is wrong. That, we'll get a buyer that, everybody's wanting to call us about listings on Zillow. We go to the MLS, the listing's not there. It had been sold, or, it had fallen off the site. Well, we really, changed our position on how we collect data. And now we're collecting data mostly through the MLS, and that again guarantees the data quality's there, the accuracy's there, and it really has improved the process that you're not getting those faulty, inaccurate listings anymore when it comes to being displayed on Zillow. So that's been a big change for us and a big improvement as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sure. And listen, I was having a little fun. By the way, for those of you that are regular watchers of the show and regular viewers, I've got my man on the ones and twos, I always say, behind the action, Jordan, who's making a lot of the streaming and all of this. So I always appreciate his input. Well, one of the things that I was looking at is, listen, the reality is the two sort of main sites that are out there is Zillow and then realtor.com. And I was asking Jordan earlier, I said, when I read the statistic, tell me, do you think it's Zillow or do you think it's realtor.com? And the first one was 185 million visits, and then the other one was 71. And Zillow, we've talked about, is clearly the bigger number. Now, this is from an independent site, so we could, there may be some variations. But then the second one, which I thought was interesting, was 11 pages per visit, and then 25 pages per visit. And the 25
Realtor.
pages, yeah, realtor.com. And, there's a lot of different, and I'm sure that you've seen those before, but I think that there's strengths and weaknesses of all of them. And when I'm talking to realtors, I'm not talking for or against Zillow, for or against realtor.com. You need to be aware of all of the platforms. You need to be aware of the consumer, because I'll just tell you a story. The other day I was in the barbershop and there was two young fellas in there, one that owns a house and one that was thinking about buying a house. And I do what I always do. I was just curious. Hey, when you guys were looking, and I forget his name, when you're looking, where do you go? One guy said Zillow, the other guy said realtor.com. And so for me, as an agent, as a broker, as a teacher, I want to understand the consumer. I don't want to fight against them. I want to understand them. And if Zillow is out there moving fast and moving big to try to create the best platform for them to hang out on, I need to be aware of that, right?
Yeah, Chris, that's really good. And I don't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to share, but you're exactly right. We have actually, through our studies and our data shows as well, the consumers start with us, but they don't stop. They don't end with us. They don't. It doesn't keep them from going to real.com or your local broker website or your local MLS website. They are not. If they're interested in a house, we are 100% confident they look at multiple websites to get more information. So that's such a crucial part of the process. When you sometimes hear that, well, Zillow's stealing our views away or taking away our traffic. Mm-hmm. We just have built a product where, we understand this gives us an arena where buyers have the most to look at, the most to see, the most access. But when they do find that dream home, they're not stopping there. They're continuing to look at other sites. So that's a important fact to remember.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Ladies out there, look, if you're about to go on a date with a first date with a man, you're going to Google the heck out of him, and you're not going to stop at the first thing you see. You're going to look at other stuff. Well, consumers do the same thing when they're shopping for houses. They see what's on Zillow. They're like, oh, what's over here? What's over here? What's over here? So one of the greatest things you can do is be aware of that, play within that. And you know what? You can create a source of information too on your social profiles and link back. Have it all included into this universe that is you, your website, especially brokers, all of those things. I think it's critically important. So as a reminder out there, guys, if you've got specific questions, Chad's got some great information for you here, and if you're a lover of Zillow or a supposed hater of Zillow, I think that the only thing that can help is information. It's what I'm always after. And I try to be as objective as possible. So if I read an article somewhere that says, oh, this is the end of times, I'm going to try to read one on the other side that maybe has got a different perspective, because at the end of the day, Zillow is going to champion what they're doing because they believe in it. Realtor.com is going to champion what they're doing because they believe in it. We champion what we're doing at Donaldson because we believe in it. That's the point here, guys. So you've got to be objective, and you've got to consider things. Don't just live in headlines. In these Facebook groups, guys, y'all got to be careful. So if you want a Facebook group that's going to give you real stuff, get in the office hours group and get out of some of these other ones, because I'm looking at what they're telling you. They got people that are giving you advice, and it scares the heck out of me, because do you know who they are? Why are they giving you advice? Where are they getting their information? Freaks me out. So I want you guys, one of the main purposes of office hours here is to give you guys a dependable, regular, real source of information. As you can see, we're bringing you the info. You make the decision. I'm learning while you're learning. So, Chad, is there anything else that that you want to talk about, that you want to mention, something that we maybe don't know? Give me a cool factoid, something that we could present to our audience while I kind of filter through what some of their questions might be here.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an interesting factoid. I think what I do want to end on, if we before we get we have a question or something comes up, is that and you've sort of mentioned this, but sometimes Zillow's always looked as the disruptor, that we're sort
Yeah,
of disrupting this industry, but that's not going to go away. If it wasn't Zillow disrupting the industry, there'd be another um, company or another factor or another you know type of business that would be disrupting the industry. So don't let the disruptors in the industry slow you down. Choose to adopt the things that work well for you. And Zillow is just one of those things. And you're exactly right. It is going to change. Whatever's in place today. This instant offer is just scratching the surface, because it's not. Again, it's not because the real estate industry is changing. The real estate industry is changing, but
absolutely.
the sellers are changing. The sellers are taking advantage of saying, yeah, I don't really want to go through this whole process of fixing up my house or cleaning my house, or I don't, or just getting rid of, or showing homes. I need to move. I need to sell quickly. I need to make this happen, not in 6 months, but in 60 days. That's going to continue, I think, to kind of build all across the country as more and more programs like Instant Offer become available. And again, it's just one aspect of it that we're trying to build and to grow, and to see if it takes off to the extreme that it could. Again, it's keeping agents involved in the transaction in both sides of the process. So keep that, just keep that on your forefront. I don't know, Chris, how much you guys talk about Redfin and some other models out there that sort of have a different aspect of how they operate.
Mhm.
It's they're a disruptor too. So it's always going to be these disruptors out there. Don't let them phase you. Don't let them discourage you what you're doing. Stay focused and take advantage of all of them that you can, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And Audie, I just want to acknowledge my friend Audie, who stated that he had a client recently that had already done the detailed research on Zillow and wanted to make sure that everything was correct as their house existed there when and by the time they met with Audie, who's a real estate professional. So what I think that you're saying, and Audie, thank you for your points and your comment there, is the consumer is getting more savvy. They have the information at their fingertips. You need to keep up and ahead of the pace. I talk about being an actual expert all of the time. And I think that's critically important. What you just mentioned, Chad, about disruptors, they're going to be in every marketplace. They're always going to be there. So if something were to happen to Zillow tomorrow, there'd be, a Rillo the next day. I mean, there's always something. And because that's what capitalism breeds. And so, whether it's cloud brokerages, there's so much arguing going on about that, and I understand it. Whether it's Redfin in their model, which some of it, there's some conflicts with Louisiana regulations, I think, to their total model here, if I understand correctly. Tons of talk about that, but I think people forget this is still a relationship business. And so, my relationship with you guys, as the office hours viewers, if you've waited this long, I've actually got an interesting point I'm going to throw to Chad. This is the Chris Donaldson in me. I've got to make sure that I point this out. The businessman in me knows one thing, and that is that the tremendous job has been made at generating buyer leads, developing a platform, and selling the access to that information to agents as you should and as makes sense. But my estimation is you're still kind of trying to figure out how to really solidly sell me on seller leads. That still seems to be the holy grail in the media and the exposure and that market. My opinion is instant offers and other tests like that. You're trying to figure out how, if I'm a top agent that's getting a ton of quality leads that I'm paying for on the buyer side, you're trying to figure out how to get me those sellers too. Is that a fair observation? Is that a fair objective looking?
Absolutely. Yes, I think you're exactly right, Chris. And it definitely, instant offer, that's one side of instant offer is to generate seller leads. And in actually the 3 markets that we've tested instant offer in, we've actually been surprised at the percentage of sellers that request an instant offer. And with our program, which is different from any other, when they request an instant offer, they do get an offer from us or Zillow, an instant offer, but they also get a contact from an agent and a CMA to say, if you would like to list your property, here's what we would, here's what we'd sell it for, put it on the market, and we'd list it and sell it for at this price. So they're getting both. They get a choice at that transaction, and we've been really pleasantly surprised the percentage of sellers that have gone with the agents to list the properties once that's happened. So I think that's another part of the tool, instant offer, and how it's going to work. Yes,
it makes sense, and I want everybody to be aware. Watch that, because if you get in early, it's a battle royale likely between the Zillow group and Realtor.com and any other sites out there, how to figure that out. And if Zillow figures it out first and you get in on the front end, you might be the absolute king of your zip code. And however they organize the right program, when they've got those seller leads flowing to you, and all of a sudden you are the one that's getting all the listings and everybody else is doing the complaining. Look for the opportunity. It's going to be there. Zillow is going to figure it out eventually. Realtor.com. Everybody's going to figure it out. So look for that opportunity. By the way, Chad, in case you don't know, Donaldson is a disruptor. Part of what we do and what I care about is disrupting the barrier between you and the information you need to know in order to succeed. I frankly couldn't take it anymore 2 years ago, which is where office hours came from, because I couldn't take the fact that there was the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And the big argument that I heard was, I just want to know what's really going on. What can I do to improve my business? Guys, we are disrupting that. Take advantage of it. It may not be here forever. I may get busy. I may not have time for you guys, whatever the case may be. And I want y'all to know that we call y'all the 19, because when I look at the statistics, it's really the 1% of the agents that are doing 90 or more percent of the business. And the old sales mantra is it's supposed to be 80-20. Well, I think there's a big chunk of you out there. You're on this stream right now that are getting left behind. You need to break down the barriers to the information. We are disrupting that for you. So Chad, thank you for being a part of that movement. Thank you for helping to get the information out there, because quite frankly, it's in my interest for you to be successful in real estate too. We're all in the same team here, playing various positions. And I think it's incredibly important that you take advantage of this opportunity and don't go out there and listen to these random headlines and posts and Facebook scare tactics, because you may spend more time worrying about it than actually running your real estate business, which is what really scares me. So Chad, what'd you think about office hours here? What do you think about our audience? They're a pretty cool group of agents, right?
They are. This is awesome, and they were so friendly. I was really proud. I was happy about that. No, it's great. It was really cool to be with you guys and be a part of the original office hours.
That's right.
I will email Spencer tomorrow and say I was on the original office hours last night.
Please do. I'm going to make sure to tweet out to make sure that he saw that you did such an excellent job. Listen, for those of you that are regular viewers of the show, if you saw last time, I've got some takeaways. I've taken some notes. Chad, you've helped me understand some things that even I didn't know. So if you're not familiar, we're going to do an after show. It's going to be live on Instagram. So if you want to flip over to the Instagram, you can find me at the Chris Donaldson, and I'll be doing sort of my takeaways and talking a little bit further. If you've got a question that popped into your head and you couldn't think of it while Chad was on the show, I'll be happy to take it from you there. So come hang out on Instagram. Let's talk some more real estate. This is a business that I know and love. I'm here for you guys. I will be here and I will answer questions as long as you want, because that's what matters to me, that you make it, because you've got two things you could spend. You could spend time and money, time and money or effort. And if you put in the effort, I will give you the time. That's really what I want you guys to know. And if you're going to spend money, then we can show you how to do that correctly as well. So listen, it's been a real pleasure. Just so that you guys know, when I saw Chad, I asked him, I said, hey, we do this show. Here's my audience. They're very engaged. They want to learn. These are the folks that want to succeed. will you come on the show? And Chad did not even hesitate. He said, yes, let's just figure out a time when. And sure enough, we were able to work it out. So I just want to acknowledge you. I want to thank you. I know
let's do it again.
Yeah, we absolutely should. The more often, the better. I mean, the next big headline where y'all freak people out, feel free to come on. And
Right.
Anytime.
I'll book you right after we announce.
I love it. I love it. I think that's a smart move because these are the savvy ones. These are going to be the ones that are going to be the high producers going forward. I promise you, because rather than flipping on Netflix in prime time, they're flipping on office hours, which means a lot to us. So let me be the first, if we haven't already, to thank you guys for your attention. Thank you for being a part of office hours. It would be really boring if I was talking to myself. Thanks again to Chad. And don't forget, as you can see scrolling, move on over to Instagram if you want to continue the conversation. I'm going to read from my notes, give you a couple of takeaways, answer any questions that maybe we didn't get to. And Chad, thanks again. And if there's anything we can do for y'all or anything, any closing remarks or
no, just want to say if there's any questions, if you get any questions from any of the agents after the program, just email them to me. I'll be happy to help any way I can, and that's what we're here for. We want to share the information and help these guys out for sure.
I appreciate that. I really do. So thank you for giving us a chunk of your prime time, and I appreciate that. And hopefully, if we've got any good ones, you might continue to teach me even after the show. So thanks so much, my friend, and
take care.
catch you next time on Office Hours.